Dating way back to the Roman times and before, and still to this day, fashion plays an important role in society. A lot can be said in a piece of clothing, or lack thereof. Award-winning costume designer Camille Benda takes us through the history in her new book, Dressing the Resistance, the visual language of protest through history. It celebrates how we use fashion and costumes to ignite activism and spur social change. Camille, I am so excited that you are here, and we're talking about this brand new book of yours. What an incredible idea, Dressing the Resistance. What is this all about, and how did you come to put this together?
Well, it's interesting because I went to the 2016 Women's March in LA, and seeing all the people in the way they chose to dress and how they wanted to represent themselves, I thought, I wonder if anybody's done a book specifically on clothing for activism, rebellion, protest, all that kind of stuff. And it just kind of showed a real joy and celebration about activism, protest, and kind of expressing yourself and voicing your opinion. So I started researching after that and jumped in, and away I went.
And you are an acclaimed costume designer in Hollywood and internationally, so you know really the importance that a piece of clothing, or lack thereof, the message that it can send.
Definitely. And one of the chapters, the last chapter in the book, is actually about nudity and tattoos and branding and blood and piercings, and partly because the absence of clothes is just as interesting as the presence of clothes, and they kind of reverberate against each other.
And you have a chapter dedicated kind of to the suffragettes in that era, right? What did their clothes say, and what message did they pass along?
I think one of my favorite messages that they passed along kind of historically is that they would wear white to show purity and to show that they were respectable members of society. White was also a really popular color at that point in the Victorian times. But one of the other things that I love about their use of white is that they used it to record the dirt or blood or marks or smears from the Victorian streets as they were protesting. So the white became kind of a canvas for protest and a record for protest.
What role did hats play in history?
The interesting thing about hats is how portable they are and how easy they are to distribute. In the ancient Roman times, hats were used in rebellions by enslaved people to show how many of them were in a certain space. And during the French Revolution, there was the bonnet rouge, which were the red hats of the revolutionaries. And so hats provided a way for kind of collaborators and activists to identify each other and know who's who and who's a friend and who's an enemy.
Well, and it's interesting because each of these topics, I know there's so many more that you talk about in the book and touch on, but especially gender when it comes to clothes, hats, it has such a rich history, and it's still things that we are using today.
And I think one of the best things about it is that by using costume or cross-dressing or any kind of play with clothing that attracts attention or shocks a viewer, means that you're creating a space where you can talk about activism or dissent. So you can create a platform, which means if you go into the street in an outlandish costume at a protest, you're almost making a piece of street art or performance art, and you're turning the regular city street into a stage, and that gains you interest for your protest.
So I want to ask you, Camille, as being a costume designer and working on different projects in different eras, right? You knew the importance, but what have you learned from just your research with this? Like, are you more comfortable taking risks when it comes to your costume design? Like, how has this made you a better designer?
I love that question. That's a wonderful question. I think what it made me realize, it reinforced my already strongly held belief that costumes really communicate non-verbally to the audience, whatever audience that is, if it's an audience of one or millions. But I think what it did also in my work is to understand each individual character and really find those details and little things that create that character and who they are as a person.
It's really a fascinating book, maybe a good gift idea, with over 150 pictures. And the foreword was written by Anne Crabtree, the costume designer for The Handmaid's Tale. Dressing the Resistance is out now and sold everywhere. For more on Camille's work, visit CamilleBenda.com.